family moved into our first new home, the cornerstone of our dinner table conversations would be about the type of sofa that we should buy for the living room. Hashing out all those nitty gritty details, such as the exact shade of brown that would fit our living room environment, the type of leather that satiated all of our comforts, and even whether the sofa should be power reclining or not. And after painfully traversing through almost all the sofas on the market, we finally landed on one that satisfied all of our criteria. And after selecting and finalizing this model, as a form of relaxation, my dad turned on the TV, opened the YouTube app, only to be bombarded by an advertisement trying to market the same type of sofa that we were talking about at the dinner table. Now, at first, this correlation between a dinner table conversation and a TV commercial seemed very unlikely and rather coincidental. However, as this phenomenon started to occur more frequently, it became apparent that there are some unseen mechanisms trying to get this commercial to us. That this commercial is the result of some spider-like algorithms in the cobwebs of this digital network. Currently, there are about 4.88 billion active internet users today. That translates into more than 5.6 Google searches per day. And with people bombarding search engines with queries, storing intimate memories in the forms of photo and video on the cloud, and even sharing confidential information via email, it becomes worth asking the question, just how private is our usage of the internet today? And while some may assert that the internet is a free and private network, the fact is in our non-utopian present-day society, the words free and private are polar opposites, especially on the internet. This can especially be seen by the American public's vast mistrust of the privacy of this network. As per the Pew Research Center study, 81% of Americans believe that the risks of data collection outweigh the benefits. In considering this mass mistrust of corporations and governments in terms of data collection, it becomes worth examining the spiderweb that is the lack of internet privacy more closely, before then analyzing the government's role in sorting out this cobweb of privacy issues, before finally drying out the rain by postulating some solutions to this all-pervasive problem. Now, the internet wasn't always the creepy, self-ad-filled hub that it is today. In fact, the internet was originally meant to facilitate communication between military professionals and then later scientists. However, because the internet was scalable, it indeed did scale, trickling into the lives of millions of Americans and soon world citizens. And businesses at the time then tried to monetize the internet, especially businesses, tech companies such as Facebook and Google. And one way they did this is through targeted advertising. Now, targeted advertising essentially means this. Instead of paying a few dollars to watch that video or read that social media post, you unknowingly sell your personal information, which amounts to your preferences, your habits, your confidential data, and your identity as a whole to the company hosting that data, to the company hosting that social media post or video. And this trend towards a non-privatized internet, especially after the 1990s, is especially emphasized by Facebook, where 97% of their revenue comes from targeted advertising. And while targeted advertising may seem like a win-win situation on the surface level because you don't have to pay any money, in reality, targeted advertisement deteriorates your freedoms on the internet and threatens the liberty of liberty-loving people like you across the globe. Now, the all-pervasiveness of targeted advertising today begs the question, Why do we even need targeted advertising in the first place? And while the profits of large corporations and tech companies definitely does play a vital role in this equation, the profits of small businesses is also worth noting as well, which are essentially the heart of the US economy. In fact, as Top Growth puts it, targeted advertising helps businesses get their products or services in front of their ideal audience. And because of our willingness, psychological willingness, to accept these targeted advertisements, these ads really do help businesses open their doors and let their profits soar over the roof. However, why must targeted advertising come? Why must this business solution come at the expense of our liberties for the sake of benefiting a third party monetarily? Why can't we come up with a business solution that not only helps large corporations and small businesses, but also protects our individual liberties on the internet at the same time, thereby protecting our privacy and maintaining the pristinity of this vast network? In his 2006 critique of a net neutrality bill, the former US Senator Ted Stevens remarked that the internet is much like a series of tubes. Now, this statement is far from the truth, even from a metaphorical sense, for the internet is a series of fiber optic cables and networks that span throughout the globe. And this statement not only serves to illustrate on the surface level the older generation's lack of internet awareness or tech savviness, but also on a symbolic level, the United States' lack of internet regulation as a whole. In fact, as per the Council on Foreign Relations, the United States lacks a single comprehensive piece of legislation protecting individual privacy on the internet. This means that individuals are not empowered with the information they need to take advantage of their privacy, and therefore these individuals aren't given the information they need to protect against data collection by large corporations or even a simple website. This puts the privacy of many individuals at stake, which could pose dire ramifications for our society as a whole. Now, for some, even after listening to this entire speech, for some, the ramifications of this lack of internet privacy may seem somewhat abstract and irrelevant. I mean, the data's on this digital world after all, right? It's not impacting my life in any way. Well, that statement could be further from the truth, because the internet is heavily connected with our daily lives. And considering its deeper connection with our daily lives and our personality, this lack of internet privacy could pose dire ramifications for society as a whole, leading to totalitarianism in the future. And one such example of totalitarianism in the future due to a lack of privacy is illustrated in George Orwell's acclaimed novel 1984, one of my personal favorites. In this novel, the dystopian government of Oceania surveils its citizens 24/7, either through telescreens or the thought police. And this 24/7 omnipresent surveillance, which is now regarded as Orwellian surveillance in our present day, can be summed up through one quote in this book: "Big Brother is watching you." And this sort of stringent lifestyle in Orwell's 1984, while it may be a dystopia for some, is actually turning into reality. That's what makes it such a chilling and acclaimed novel, because Orwell's prophecies are actually animating themselves into the present world. One example of a real world example of Orwellian style surveillance is the surveillance in China's government. The Chinese Communist Party, for instance, surveils every citizen 24/7 by hiding some cameras in their homes, hotels, or even their bathrooms, as indicated by Obama's memoir. And this sort of repressive surveillance is especially prevalent in Xinjiang, as per the Brookings Institution. And while the United States is definitely a democracy, if we do not take this lack of privacy on the internet seriously, we may be marching towards a more totalitarian and repressive society in the future, just like that of 1984 or even communist China in the present day. Now, considering the dire ramifications of this lack of internet privacy, it's important that we postulate some solutions to this all-pervasive problem. One way we could solve this problem is by abandoning, at the corporational level, targeted advertising altogether. And this isn't an impossible feat. As per the New York Times, even the infamous Meta, for instance, has abandoned its most invasive targeted advertising practices. This means that other businesses can do that as well in order to help the privacy of its users. In addition, governmental regulation, especially in the United States, must be taken as well in order to empower users with the information they need to protect their liberties on this vast digital network. For instance, the United States out to mimic the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, which does indeed thoroughly and comprehensively outline all the rights to privacy that a particular internet user has on the internet. Finally, while we're waiting for the government and corporations to catch up, we can also practice some individual reforms to help protect our data on the internet. For instance, we can install virtual private networks on our computers to mask our internet traffic from our internet service provider. In addition, we can also start to use more private search engines such as DuckDuckGo rather than Google in order to protect our privacy. Finally, if we truly want to maintain the unpolluted and pristine nature of the internet, we must beware of the spiders that have the keys to our digital freedom and help those who want to build a better foundation for this interworld. Thank you.